Welcome to it, sports fans. It is the MKT Show on this, the 9th of June in 2021. Euros are 3 days away. A little bit of football, if you are obsessed like some of us, it's something because Super Rugby really is trash, right? Super Rugby, Trans-Tasman. And I guess we're getting to the business end now. Let's just let the New Zealand teams play each other, and it might actually be a substitution. But let's bring on the Euros. The NBA is getting into the business end, so that's great news. Anthony Joshua to fight Alexander Usyk, which is awesome news. So there's some stuff as a sports fan on the horizon. The Olympics still in the air, but let's hope they get that going. Japan have officially now come out and said, we ain't canceling for nothing. So if you don't want to come to the Olympics, we don't care. Don't come. Stay at home, and we'll do our own thing. You know, that's the beauty. Hey, that is the beauty in life of being prepared, is that Japan does not give a stuff what the rest of the world thinks. Great way to live your life, by the way. If anybody wants to have a model of how to live their lives, be Japan. We're doing what we're doing. We've got a long-term mentality. And since the 50s, they have been determined to become a self-sustaining country. And we'll sell you all the technology you need, all the cars you need, but do not tell us how to run our country. And that is the way you do it. That is the way to do it. If you're going to be anybody, be Japan. Independent in thought and in action. It is the way to do it. That's what we want. Every single Instagram psychologist who thinks they're the next Aristotle will always tell you it is about freedom. So shout out to Japan. So hopefully the Olympics go ahead, and then I can get up at a ridiculous hour to watch a lady in spandex do a floor routine that I'll never be able to do. That's really what I'm looking forward to. Gymnastics, just incredible. I think Simone Biles is retired, so I don't think she cares. She might be at these Olympics. I haven't really been tracking it, you know. But looking forward to all of this stuff. But for now, Euros, we're going to do Group B and Group C today. Really looking forward to chatting about that. I'm not alone. A man who has officially now been ostracized by the Afrikaans community. And a man who did shave his beard. He may or may not have done his stair exercises yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only coffee influencer, terrible conditioner of hair, James Jimbo Illingsley. Jimbo, what do you say, pal?
Hi. I actually made an effort with my hair this morning, and now I'm just sad.
Oh, really? Did you make an effort?
Yeah, I did. And now I'm just sad that you say I'm terrible at conditioning, which is a fact. So I guess, you know, you got to take your losses sometimes.
You got to take your medicine, right? Well, I'm not saying you're terrible. I'm just saying that you are terrible, because I think it's twice now, especially you did have a little bit of you had quite a bit to say when I said you're not good at conditioning, and then I think it was 2 days later and you messed it up again.
I believe that mistakes are there to be learned from.
Oh my gosh. Do me a favor. I mean, if you're going to have hair, learn how to condition it at least.
Well, look, I do enjoy having hair, but you know, it's been a weird 2 weeks, so you know.
Why is it weird for you? You're not sick. What? You in your house? Tell me, why is it weird for you?
Well, it's just been weird not going anywhere for the last 2 weeks almost.
Oh my gosh! And what is this week and a half changed in your life, James? Now that you can't see your loved ones, and is it just too hard for you at the moment with all the change that's happening in your life in a week and a half?
Look, it's not easy to be me, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
But I've powered through. You know, I believe that I've come through the other end unscathed, and I'm just grateful. You know.
It's been a weird time. You're fine. You're not sick. It's not a weird time. Just live your life.
I'm very well aware that I'm fine, and believe me, I've still been living my best life and doing my things, but it's just like weird to break the routine that I had developed for like a whole 2 week period, you know, like without pre-warning. So next time you get COVID, a pre-warning would be great.
Yeah, sure. your life it's such a challenge once you got to face these things, and it comes, and it's the unknown. It's such a big challenge for all of us. I mean, come on, do me a favor.
Look, it's like I said, it's not easy. But again, powered through like a champion, and here we are.
You have to be fierce, James. This is when you'll find out who you actually are. When your life hasn't changed at all, and you continue to be able to go and shop at whatever grocery store you'd like. I mean, it's just, those are the challenges. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I'm so used to doing everything myself, and getting in my car and driving to the shops and, running errands that I need to run. But now adapting to this new way of deliveries is just...
It's so hard.
It's a weird time.
Yeah, dude, I mean, now you have to just download an app on your phone and tell people when to be at your house with the stuff you want to eat. I mean, this is what shows, it separates the men from the boys.
Exactly. And it's I'm a firm believer in it's how you come out on the other side is the most important.
Man, I spoke to a friend of mine this morning, James, and he has a trip coming up to Argentina to go and record a documentary, and he has some news that got delivered to him today. The whole trip is on horseback. He's never ridden a horse in his life. Your thoughts? I mean, you ever ridden a horse?
I think I have. It wasn't the most comfortable experience of my entire life.
Wait. What do you mean I think I have? Like, a horse is something you'd know if you've ridden it.
One of my best mates in like primary school used to do horse riding. And I sometimes went to his like horse riding lesson things. I don't know what you call them. And I'm pretty sure I rode a horse. I did. I remember it. I did ride a horse. One of the most uncomfortable feelings of my life. I'm a firm believer in the fact that men are not supposed to ride horses.
Okay, well, what you got to ask yourself is this. I've always wondered for people that ride horses, and I come from a rural village, or well, my father did anyway. So guys ride horses there, but I've always wondered for guys, especially with our anatomy, and I mean, ladies could probably fill me in here as well. Is it not just jamming your balls into your body the whole time? Do you know what I mean?
I'm pretty certain there's a technique to it to avoid that. I mean,
do they wear a ball box? I mean, how do you prevent because horses aren't like yuppie 23-year-olds, right? There is zero fat on horses. That's like, it's like basically like sitting on top of a rock. If you've ever actually been on like a primed horse, that's pure muscle. I mean, I'd love, they must be in the negative integers for body fat, all right? There's no way, and that is just like pure muscle coursing between your legs. That's got to be jamming them dingleberries right up against your gooch.
Well, it's not a word I thought I'd hear you say today. If you watch like equestrian and them riding their horses, it almost looks like they're standing when the horse is like galloping. So I don't know, maybe that's part of the technique where you like stand as the back legs come up so it doesn't jam in, and then you continue that kind of... I don't know what I'm talking about.
You've got no idea. I can hear that. You have no idea what you're talking about. If you do ride horses, let us know. I mean, I'm MKT Inspires on social media. Is there a technique? What is the story? I mean, I could watch this on YouTube. Don't really enjoy the whole equestrian world. I once knew someone who was very close to me who's into that whole world. Not my thing. Try to hang around those types of yuppies. I tell you what the horse people get right though. If you can get yourself to these events, is not sure if you've ever been to polo events, James. Like, not water polo.
I was going to say something stupid. No, I haven't been to polo events.
Yeah, get yourself to those events. Nobody does it like them. You go and watch a polo match. I've watched a couple, and you get into the vibe, and the food and everything, and tough to go to a better party than a polo event.
Is it all like? Is it still like a super pompous
Oh yeah.
rich people thing?
Oh, super yuppie. But listen, whether you like yuppies or not, is they know how to hold events, boy. I mean, I don't know any like super top echelon people that would invite me to this kind of stuff. I used to, fortunate, especially when I lived in the UK, kind of get into those sort of situations. And man, oh man, do not regret it. By the way, if you went to school in the Midlands, you know there's two polo places there, and they every single year they have two big events. Oh boy, oh boy. I haven't been since school finished, but went back then. But if you do maybe want to save like a month of your rent, and there's a polo event like maybe in the east, or the big ones are in the Western Cape that I know about. There's two very famous ones in the Midlands. Those are the two places I've been in South Africa, but you know, in the UK they kind of have them here, there, and everywhere. Polo event, place to be, believe you me.
Andrew Harrison says this horse riding conversation is the dumbest conversation I've heard you two having.
Because I don't know what's happening in that world, and you know what? There's a part of me that wants to know whether my dingleberry is going to be crushed or not. Be honest with you, I've never ridden a horse, so I've got no clue what is going on there. So if you do know, let us know, won't you?
Sure, please. I'm dying to know. That's something I've always want. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not interested in the techniques. Well, not just the whole like. I'm not interested in if there's a technique or not. I can go to sleep without knowing.
What about polo events? You ever been to one of those, James? You went to one of these yuppie schools. I'm pretty sure you got some friends that do that whole thing.
No.
In fact, I just lied to you. I do know of one in Johannesburg. I remember I went to an event. I think it's in the Baloo area. I once went to an event there. Again, stellar, just unbelievable. If you want to go to an event, you want to go to those polo events. If you can save up and actually afford whatever things cost of these hoity-toity people. Do you have any horse people in your family, Jack?
No, not even a single person.
Wow, and none of your friends from that yuppie school you went to?
No. A lot of my friends from that yuppie school were either the weird drama kids or not heavily into the whole, like, scene of I go to Saints to the end, this kind of thing.
Hey, let me tell you something. People in the equestrian world are in incredible shape as well. So if you're a dude, try and get yourself an equestrian lady. They are in incredible shape, because to be on a horse, you can't be tubby sticks, right? You've got to be in pristine shape. Otherwise, the horse has to carry your lard around. That ain't how it works. It's kind of like being a Formula One driver. So it's also, I mean, if you do need a girlfriend, James, get yourself, or you don't need one, but for guys that do need a girlfriend, she'll definitely be rich and be in incredible shape. So probably another good place to look for a life partner.
So I have a question. Why is this the thing we decided to open the show on? Like horses?
I didn't. It just came to my mind as the show was opening. You know, my friend was telling me that he's now his challenge is going to be Patagonia. So have I ever told you the story about my travels to Patagonia, James?
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I'll tell you one story. But I essentially got stuck in 2 snowstorms hiking with like these world-class climbers and mountaineers, right? But Patagonia is as wild as it'll get, right? The Drakensberg is the wildest mountain range probably in the Western world, purely because there are no gates. It's not like in Europe there are what they call refuges, right? Little villages within the alpine landscape, right? Patagonia is like wild. There are jaguars and there are big bad animals and very little sort of control in those environments. And he has to take I think it's a 6-week trip in that environment with horses that are probably not going to be trained, and he's never ridden a horse, and that's like 5 months away. So
and he has to juggle a camera.
Oh, plain no, and you carry your own food. This isn't like, oh, you're gonna have somebody kind of muling your baggage around. He's in huge trouble, and I'm not. I did laugh at him this morning. I said it's going to be a disaster.
I think that's actually really cool. Like I would do that. Like even though it's probably gonna be one of the hardest things I've ever done, like I would genuinely do it. Just because it's the whole process of like filmmaking and like being on location and you're still seeing the world and you know.
Yeah, but James, I think you're imagining an after studio. Having
No.
hiked Patagonia myself, let me tell you something. There is a zero that is comfortable about it. It is going to be a disaster for him. Luckily, he is one of the fittest people. He's also a mountain runner, so he's one of the fitter people I know. So he'll be able to adjust. And he did a trip across Mongolia and a documentary across Mongolia. So he knows how to rough it. But I told him this is going to be hilarious either way, because horses do not care about your feelings. And I hope the horse throws him off, but I hope he doesn't like break his back. You know what I mean? No, because who does he think he is? I told him, who do you think you are? You're going to learn how to ride a horse in 5 months. You're not. And he's working like all the time. So it's going to be hilarious. And I'm looking forward to it.
He's big on the adventure. He's living his best life.
Yeah, he is certainly big on the adventure. The Mongolia trip, some of the stories, just unbelievable.
Go him. I support him. Go him.
Shout out to him, huh?
I don't know him, but shout out to him.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, Dave. Shout out to you.
Go, Dave. You do it, Dave.
So, James, big questions. I mean, you're talking about going up one of the most dangerous mountain ranges of all time. Did you actually walk up and down your stairs yesterday? If you can't handle that, you are not handling the Patagonia. Believe you me, I've hiked Patagonia, and it is not. It's not for yuppies.
I did. I had load shedding, so I decided to use that time to multitask and cook, and then also walk up and down the stairs with my music, and it was a great time. Then I had a shower, and life was great. I felt good.
Any shock in the glutes with the walking up and down the stairs? I mean, how long did you walk?
The thighs are starting to get a little bit sore, but you know, that only means it's working. Pain is weakness leaving the body, or whatever that saying was.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Now, James, you were telling me this morning that your little brother's becoming the gym guy.
I'm very excited for that.
Is he like an athletic guy, or is he just getting into the gym thing?
I actually don't know. I don't know. He plays hockey at school. I don't really know his whole sort of view on like sports and how eager he is to be outside. But apparently the gym thing is something he wants to do, and he's got his protein powder and he's doing his thing, and I'm just like, okay, dude, you do you, man.
It's going to be awesome. James, he's going to be putting you in a headlock in a year's time, and it's great to hear. I mean, once the little brother starts to dominate you, that's James. Now you have to get in shape, because as much as we all want to live and be the older brother and I'm better than you, if your brother's in better shape than you in 6 months, it's going to be embarrassing for you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so now you have to get in shape. Imagine being shown up. He's what, 6 years younger than you?
No. Is it? Yes, you're right, sorry.
6 years young. Yeah, he's your brother, and I know. It's incredible. But he's 6 years younger than you. Imagine he pops up, and now if you get a lockdown body in 6 months, and then he looks like a Greek god, that's going to be so embarrassing for Christmas.
Look.
Yeah, you haven't thought about that. Had you thought about that, or have I just made you realize?
I haven't thought about that. But I've always been someone that's just kind of like not super concerned about opinions of other people about me. So like if I show up there and he's jacked and everyone's like, oh, you look good kind of stuff, I just be like, cool. And then just open another beer probably.
Yeah, and cry into your own. Yeah, I mean, wow, James, you're so cool. You don't care about anyone's opinion. Wow, you're so cool. Actually, you do care, and especially when it's siblings, we do care. And it's going to be hilarious if you have like a mental breakdown because everyone wants to touch your brother's arms, and everyone's like, "Oh, James, get the hell out of here."
You see, this is why I don't care, because as the older brother, I'm still in charge. So.
All right. Okay. This is, you know what you sound like? You sound like the Roman Empire at the end. When the barbarians were at the gate. So shout out to your little brother. And James, you should care about your health, by the way. Just saying.
I mean, I do. We had this discussion on Monday. Was it Monday? Friday. We did have this discussion. And we said that James was going to make an effort. And he is.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Except now your little brother's in the gym with protein shakes. By December, everyone's going to go, oh my goodness, are you guys even from the same family? Although, James, you have a chance to get in the gym as well. So maybe you can turn it around. You can use it as inspiration. And then your mom will be like, oh, look at both of my sons. They're doing the most in terms of personal health. And then you can make her happy as well. You know what I'm saying? Maybe think about that.
Look, Monday is the start of the rest of my life.
Oh my gracious. Okay, let's move on. I do not need to hear the rest of what you're going to say there. All right, sports fans, welcome to the MKT Show. We're going to get into it. It is the week of Euros. And it's quite confusing because it's Euro 2020. Because Seferin and that lot are just too lazy to change a one. But it's Euro 2020 and 2021. So we did Group A yesterday. We're gonna do Group B. James, are you juiced for Euros, or is it like a little bit like I said? Is it like kissing your sister?
I actually wanted to say before we jumped into the Euros conversation, and I was thinking about it this morning. I wasn't juiced for Euros like last week. I was just like, okay, cool, the football season's over, and Euros is a thing, but cool stuff. But watching these preseason games, well, not preseason games, sorry, the international friendlies, seeing the highlights in the mornings, has gotten me pretty juiced. I'm pretty excited, actually. I didn't think I would be, but I'm actually some football. It's football of the highest caliber.
It is football of the highest caliber. Something I want to know as well from Arsenal fans is, how are you feeling about Buendia going to Aston Villa? Now, you know, pre-season hasn't even started. The season ended a week and a half ago, and Arsenal fans are just being stressed out by their football club. Love to know what they think. The end of that Buendia deal. Do you want Ruben Neves? I'm really looking forward to hearing and seeing how this off-season goes for Arsenal fans. And if you're a Springbok fan, love to know what you're thinking about the squad. Where would you have made changes? Do you think the British and Irish Lions have a chance? Because I don't. Your thoughts there would be incredible. All right, let's get into it. Jimbo, we're going to start off with Group B at the Euros. And this is an interesting group for me. So the team I will support for this tournament is in this one. They will definitely be out come the group stage. But let's start off with Denmark. Nice team. Very, very nice team. Typically Danish. You know, obviously, the Lauded brothers were the last time they were any good. 1992, of course, making the semi-finals there. So it's a nice team. I do like that Denmark team. Christian Eriksen, star man there, but they've got Højbjerg in there. They've got Christensen in there. They've got Kasper Schmeichel in there. So it's a nice, organized team. I think you can expect them to be organized, as any Scandinavian team has. Good technique with all the players. Ultimately, though, ain't going to be great. Like Christian Eriksen, I think he made a huge mistake leaving Tottenham, but it is what it is. He's at Inter now. He's been around a few leaders and a bit of winning. So let's see how that goes for them. So Denmark, for me, a team to look out for, and Christian Eriksen, the star man, of course, creative midfielder and superb set piece specialist. So my team, though, and I don't know why they had to put all the Scandinavs in one group. Finland, their very first major championship, Timo Pukki. It's no Pukki, no party, as they say. So that'll be fun. I mean, you'll see some of the supporters, they'll bring a different vibe. The Finnish are, they are a different type of people. Until you've met a whole bunch of Finnish people together, it's difficult to describe them. I don't even know what to say about them. They really do live in their own world. Scandinavia even treats them as distant cousins that maybe pop over every now and then. They are just a different bunch. So really, really looking forward to seeing Finland. Always have the worst kit in international football, by the way. They always have the worst kit in international football. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they produce for this tournament. But I think they'll get the participation award in the group. Russia, Russia on the rise again. Um, the state funding is huge. They want to get back to the top. Zenit getting big funding again. CSK Moscow getting big funding again. You can expect Russia to compete within the European competitions like CSK Moscow did at a stage when they invested in all the Brazilian talent way back when. Um, Look, I think the best player there, you're looking for Cheryshev. He plays for Valencia, as the Spanish say. So I'm looking forward to seeing this Russian side and what they can be, because there's nice young talent there. Again, the state funding's been huge, and they've invested in the young talent. So we'll see how that goes for Russia. Cheryshev, for me, the guy to unlock the defense of any other team in midfield, Valencia's star. So that'll be fun to see. But I think ultimately the team that'll win the group, and although I do feel like this team's missing something, I don't know what it is. And I feel like all the players are too samey. And again, I've been thinking about, I wonder if I'm getting too old, but I don't see any leadership since even when Vincent Kompany left. And even Vincent Kompany was really a leader by example rather than your sort of Roy Keane driver. And I kind of like that aggression. Belgium they're just a bunch of nice guys. They really are just a bunch of nice guys. And I don't see where that edge is coming from with Belgium. They're all very much the same. Small, technical, a bit of tick-a-tacker, they're going to outwit you. But sometimes in a hyper-masculine environment, you need somebody who's got a little bit of that killer mentality. And I'm not sure where it's coming from with Belgium. I'll be honest, all of them look very samey. That De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, Tielemans, Castagna type of player. Where's the nasty side? Even the holding mids and defensive mids is, you ask yourself, where's the nasty side? And up front, I know people love Lukaku. I don't. I think he's a second, third tier striker who's had one brilliant season in Italy. And other than that, whenever he's flourished, it's been at Everton and West Brom. Otherwise, he has choked to Chelsea and Man United. I just don't think he's that final 5-star level that you need to take you over the edge. Nice squad, but ultimately I think their best player is Eden Hazard, and that should tell you everything. That's a problem, because you've seen now, as soon as the pressure came at Real Madrid, and every time the pressure has come, Hazard has been injured or has not delivered when it's mattered for his country. And it's not a talent gap, it's the desire to lead, and I don't know where that leadership is coming from. I just do not. I'm sorry, I've said this to you before. Belgium have the same problem that PSG do, is they made the mistake of thinking that flair is a plan. Flair is not a plan, because flair will crumble every time, guaranteed, when there's pressure. There's no steel in that Belgium team at all. You can't. There is zero steel in that team. It is soft, it's technical, it's nice, and I'm afraid, in the end, and I know we live in a different time. I'm not a cerebral person. I've said this to people before. Ultimately, Savage wins over all the time. Savage will always beat nicey. Savage will always beat nicey. And football, for all of its technical elements, is still a hyper-masculine sport. And if you can't deliver on that end, forget about it. So Belgium to win the group, and I think, for me, Denmark to go through. They got Højbjerg, who I think will form a nice sort of defensive anchor with Schmeichel and Christensen at the back there, and Simon Kjær, who's a wonderful player as well, and has had a great career. So I think that's going to be a nice little group. But for me, Belgium and Denmark go through. Neither team to do much, I would say, beyond 16 and the quarterfinals. I would say I just don't see Belgium or Denmark really going deep into the competition. And Denmark, I'm afraid, or Belgium, I'm afraid, everybody keeps saying the golden generation. I'm not sure why. I don't see where this golden generation thing comes from. They have Kevin De Bruyne and they have Eden Hazard. That's two players who, what are you telling me there? Neither's won the Champions League. It's not like Spain had a proper golden generation before. So I don't really see this as a golden generation. I think of all of the Belgian players now, the one generational talent is Eden Hazard, and that was 3-4 years ago when he was at that level. Kevin De Bruyne, I'm not so sure he's a generational talent. I think he's just an extremely, extremely gifted player. But in this past era, I mean, I'm not taking him over Xavi or Lampard, some of these greats that we've seen. He's not Aguero, So I think we need to settle down. Twitter and YouTube highlights sometimes make us think we're looking at Platini. Like, De Bruyne is brilliant, but he's not a generational talent. Stop it. Behave yourself. I mean, for Liverpool are trying to kill Thiago's career, but in reality, Thiago is a better player than Kevin De Bruyne, whether you like it or not. We saw what he did at Bayern Munich and at Barcelona. And Sergio Busquets, that's a generational talent. Leo Messi, generational talent. So when you start to talk about that top echelon, Kevin De Bruyne hasn't even been as good in his career as Eden Hazard yet. Whether you like that or not, and Eden Hazard has probably hit his potential. And there'll be an argument whether Eden Hazard has been generational or not, ultimately in the end. So slow down on the golden generation talk. They've got a few good players. They are not the France team of 1998, 2000, 2002. You remember that? The Brazil team of 2002, when you've got Kaká, Ronaldinho, and Rivaldo up front. They don't have a single player who will enter the conversation of Rivaldo, Kaká, or Ronaldo, which Brazil had in one team. Eden Hazard is not getting into that conversation. Just those three. Forget about the rest of Cafu and Roberto Carlos and Lucio. Those are generational talents. I don't know if anybody in this Belgium team gets into that conversation even. Forget about being generational. Let's just talk about proper generational talent. I'm afraid not. And look at the previous Spain team. You're talking about Sergio Ramos, right? Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, David Villa. These are generational talents. When you use a word like generational, is they need to have done something to separate themselves from other players in their generation. I don't know what De Bruyne or Hazard have done to separate themselves from the rest of the players globally in this generation. At no stage has Hazard been the best player in the world, and at no stage has Kevin De Bruyne been a top 5 player in the world yet. Can he turn that around? Absolutely. But there are 4 or 5 players currently playing, which I would take over both players. So golden generation slowed down, but Belgium, a very, very nice team. Ultimately, nice doesn't win, and I don't see anybody really gripping it by the bollocks and actually taking it over the edge for them. So for me, Belgium, Denmark go through. Finland, Russia pack their bags and go home. But my team, Finland, cannot wait to see them do their thing. Jimbo, you going to be watching this group?
Definitely. I think, sure, there's a lot going on in this group. I agree with you in the sense that Belgium are missing something, and I think, they're number 1 in the world rankings, but they don't seem like a team that should be, if that makes sense, because there's this missing piece. They've got, I think they've got a couple of aces up their sleeve. Their defense is probably gonna be rock solid. Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, when they link up, that's a solid partnership. Even at Tottenham, those two, there was a point where I was convinced Tottenham had the best defense in the league when they had those two at centre back. So I think defensively, very, very strong.
Thibaut Courtois, by the way.
Hit and miss for me, if I'm honest. But I mean, look, he is Thibaut Courtois. Anything's possible. Midfield, very, very strong midfield. De Bruyne, Tielemans. I think Yannick Carrasco is a midfielder, if I'm not mistaken.
Superb player.
I think that's also something that they do have is probably one of the strongest midfields at the tournament. But again, when I look at this list, none of them are really, like you say, generational talents. Axel Witsel sort of had his time in the limelight and then kind of just disappeared quietly.
Well, he took. I'll tell you what happened. He took the money in China, and it didn't work out. And once you take the money that early in life, it tells me that football's not the number one priority. And I have no problem with people taking money. By the way, I have no problem. I'm not one of those people who thinks players should stay at a club. Like, you should move, earn the most money. It's a job in the end. So, but ultimately, it tells me what you're thinking. If you think you should be moving in your prime to China or Russia or these second tier leagues. You know what I mean?
Look, I think um, it does say a lot about you as a player. And I think like Hulk for me was also one of those players
Agreed.
who had the potential to like skyrocket his career and be one of those sort of flair Brazilians. But he took the money and went to China, and nobody's heard the name Hulk for Lord knows how long. Um, the thing that I think Belgium do have, now that I'm looking at it, is a lot of these players do play with each other at club level, or have played with each other at club level, or they play in the same league. I mean, their midfield is just filled with players from the Premier League and players from Dortmund. And I mean, those players from the Premier League are Leicester City players. I think 3 out of 4 of them are Leicester players. So I think, Belgium, chemistry-wise, I think that'll take them very, very far. Like I say, half their midfield is Leicester City. Whether half that midfield will actually be in the starting lineup, nobody knows. But I think the chemistry at Belgium is what's going to take them quite far. I'm not.
Any worries about the manager?
I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Belgium to sort of have a strong opinion. I'm aware of their stats. I'm aware of their sort of team sheets, but I don't have many views on the sort of managers in international football. Um, I don't know. I think he's gonna have to make some tough choices with this team because you're gonna want to start Kevin De Bruyne, but then you also have players that you want to start on the field, like let's say Batshuayi, but because of your formation, you have to play around. And I think the manager is going to have a lot of leeway in that sense to play around with different tactics. And I think the group stages are a perfect opportunity for that. You're not playing any teams that can potentially end your tournament early, except for Denmark, I don't believe. I think Belgium should come out winning all of their games in the group stages. Um, their forwards are the only thing that concerns me. They've got Lukaku, who's probably in the form of his life at the moment, but can he bring it to international football is a question. Eden Hazard, I haven't seen anything from Eden Hazard in the last probably 7 years, if I'm completely honest. I've never understood the hype around him. He's in his third trimester. So,
Very, very fat. Very, very fat.
but again, now looking at it, there's again a lot of players in the same league or the same club. I mean, there's 2 Crystal Palace players in their forwards lineup. Again, strong chemistry, but whether chemistry can win you the European Championships is another question.
Yeah, it's all very, very samey for me. I mean, you talk about Carrasco, you talk about Dries Mertens, you talk about De Bruyne, you talk about Eden Hazard. That small, squat, built guy who's got the technique to turn on the dime. Is, I do worry a little bit about who's the power from midfield, because this is where France, I think, dominate everybody else, is they've got the same sort of technique guys. And then you've still got guys that can express the power in Sissoko and Conte from midfield and drive that team forward by carrying the ball. Sort of, for me, I worry there, and I do worry about the manager, Roberto Martinez. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Not sure he's also got that personality to take. You sometimes, like Joachim Löw has done for Germany over the last 15, 20 years, is his personality type is very driven. It is very, very driven. And we saw what happened in Brazil and what has happened subsequently. This German, now this past Germany generation, golden generation. And ultimately they delivered on the promise. You know, part of being a golden generation is you must deliver on the promise, because I always say this, I'm not interested in potential. Potential gets you fired. I don't care about potential. What have you done? I want to see some results. And Belgium came third at the World Cup, but I mean, third is as good as last. You know, they should have been in the World Cup final there, and they didn't. And if anything, the Belgium team's worse now than they were then. Axel Witsel's fallen off. Alderweireld is older. Vertonghen is older. You know, Hazard was the great hope. He's not what he was 4 years ago or 2 years ago now.
People thought his brother was the sort of next Hazard to take over Hazard, but he's not really much either.
Yeah, listen, I think that was always maybe the standard was a little bit high there. I mean, what Eden Hazard was doing at Chelsea, there was no way Torgan can live up to that. So, but you're right. You see, again, very similar, small, technical guy. You know, those types of players need a bouncer. They need to be protected. So even the great Spanish teams, you thinking of that team, is that they had Sergio Ramos and Puyol and Busquets to kind of do the punching for them. You know, is they could do their nice tiki-taka stuff, but you need those nasty guys. Jordi Alba is a nasty type of player. And I don't see that in Belgium. Even if you look at Vertonghen and you look at Alderweireld, they actually rather are technical centre-backs. And you think of Thibaut Courtois, he's not the most I mean, he's a big man, but he's not Kasper Schmeichel. You know, Kasper Schmeichel isn't as good a goalkeeper maybe, but he's got that presence and that kind of fire, you know, is technical people and people with flair in general, you know, they need a bouncer. And Belgium just seems like it's just going to be a nice day out, a nice kickabout for the lads, and everyone's going to go home smiling. And I'm afraid that's not how you win. And I would say France right now probably have that balance perfectly. France and Germany have the balance perfect right now.
Look, I think to go back to what you were saying about Roberto Martinez, so I know for a fact that when some players are selected in like the Springbok squad, for example, they're selected, and I'm not saying this is the case all the time, I just know that this is a thing that can happen. Some players are selected based on their ability to be around the team, and to sort of be that presence around the team. To, you know, they'll probably play 10 minutes in total for a whole World Cup tournament for the Boks, but their role is to be that person in the change room, that is that energy that says, come on guys, we can actually bring this home, we can win this. And I think that's maybe what they might be missing. I don't think Roberto Martinez is that manager. There's a lot of stars in this squad, a lot of huge names, and maybe that's what they're missing. They're missing the sort of leadership. Yeah, they have a captain, and you know they have De Bruyne who can be a captain, maybe Hazard, but I don't know. I think their name overshadows their personality, if that makes sense.
No, I hear you. And you know, we all do this in life, right? Is that we all think talented people are going to get us where we need to go. And ultimately, the sad part is this, right? Most talented people are not driven because it's been easy their whole life. If you're Eden Hazard has never, ever, even to this day, I mean, if you went to training, he's probably dazzling Real Madrid, right? He's never spent a day in his life not being the best player on the football pitch. Kevin De Bruyne, it'll be very similar for him. You know what I mean? Dries Mertens, very similar for him, is talented people, especially if they're wunderkind, and most of these guys were, was that they've never had pressure and pushback, right? And now when you become an adult and you don't have somebody to, because you need that extra, is talent needs to be managed, one thing, but talent has to be driven and focused, because we all have it in our personal lives. You may have a partner who's like this, who's extremely talented, is a bit of a thinker, a cerebral person. Is you have to remind them what the goal is, because talented people will try anything and just do anything, because nobody's ever told them they can't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, they've always been perfect, they've been the star. And we've seen where you look at child stars, you look at Hollywood is the best example, because we have a lens to that, is that you see these talented people who've never been told no or whatever, and they run into systems, and it is an absolute disaster. And this, I think, it may have happened to England, which they called it a golden generation. That's a whole different conversation. But it may be happening here, and we all do it in life, is we allow talented people to get away with madness. But this was the greatness. And this is why, again, in world football, people always say, hey, why do the top teams always rotate the same managers? It's because it's impossible to get a Mourinho, to get a Fergie, to get an Ancelotti, to get like Pep Guardiola. These guys who will encounter massively talented people, not care, and understand that we must be laser focused and dismiss talent and ultimately focus on the team. It's extremely difficult as human beings when people are around us and they are good looking and they are talented to not make sure that they fall within what we need them to do, just because we fall in love with talent. People like shiny things. And once you do that, and I think Belgium may have fallen in love with talent instead of actually building a team, is this happens all the time in life. We are all so bad at it. And if you're not, and you're better than me, and you're better at actually spotting, I always say this is, and I make this mistake far too often for my liking, but we always make this mistake in life, is we never discern between the difference between character and behavior, because it's easier to see behavior because that's happening now, and we all have recency bias, right? Which is why I always say flair needs accountants. Is you actually need people to go, hey, what's really going on here? Because talent will do dazzling things, and Eden Hazard, let's just use him because he's the star player. He may do 4 or 5 great things in a game, but he may not stick to the game plan. And because he dribbles past 8 guys and hits the post, you might forgive him for those other things. And we all do this in life, where we let talent get away with too much obviously at the behest of the rest of the team, but also to the failure of the rest of the team, is to say that you cannot sacrifice for talent so that the team suffers. And it's so difficult for all of us to do this in life, is don't confuse character with behavior. Because what you want to ideally have is have a character for Belgium, right, which is not affected by Flair's behavior, is you need character. This is what we are, regardless of the talent, and you make the talent fit into that. But it is, especially in a star-driven world now where football has gone, and you've seen that managers like Mourinho and Mancini and even Ancelotti, these old-school managers, are on the way out, is that it is star-centric, which is why Man City is a miracle right now, what they're managing to do with Pep Guardiola to keep the egos down. It is a star-centric league, and ultimately, if you fold to talent, in the end, you will fail. I've never read or seen anything where talent is more important than the collective, and I think Belgium have made that mistake, and human beings make that mistake. Talent is such an awesome thing to be around. The aura of it makes you forget what the plan is, and I hope Belgium haven't fallen into that. And human beings are bad at it. Character and behavior are not the same thing. Try to discern the two. You want to try and follow character traits rather than singular behavior, which is what I like to call talent. You know, talent is sporadic, excellent moments that sort of blow your mind and take your breath away. Don't let that make you forget that you still need holding midfielders and centre backs and goalkeepers that make the team functional and anchor the team. Eden Hazard shouldn't be the anchor of the team, but as PSG and I think Belgium are finding out that if you do base your team around your flair players, it will be a problem very, very soon.
Mm. Hey, look, they're number one in the world for a reason. Uh,
Having said that, the FIFA ranking system is a bigger joke than the rugby ranking system. Do you know what the problem is? Nobody knows how it works.
it's all it. I mean, I think everyone knows that it's points based, but nobody knows how they get points.
Like, why are Belgium first in the world? How are Belgium higher than France, who are the world champions?
The,
Shouldn't France have earned triple points to everyone for winning the ultimate prize in world football?
well, I mean, logically, if you think about it, if you win the FIFA World Cup, you're the best in the world, right?
Yeah,
So, huh? Doesn't make sense.
so it should be like boxing. You know, if you've got the belts, you're the champion. In fact, number one in the world should always be the world champion, and until like a Euros now, where you come and knock the champion out. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be what it is now. It makes no sense. It makes no sense that Belgium are number one in the world. Why? Because they're winning friendlies and qualifiers against people that are hotel workers. I mean, most of Euros is they're playing some country that Vladimir Putin just made up 15 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
where every player is actually his gardener at his palace or something.
That's what I'm saying. Is that you're playing against accountants and bakers and candlestick makers, and you're number one in the world. Why? Belgium have not done anything for me like in boxing or UFC. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, that guy won the championship. Okay, so he's the badass. You know what I mean? So it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me how they are number one in the world.
Also, if you look at their points, like if you look at the ranking system, I think like some of these teams have like 2,000 points or something like that, and I'm like,
Why
what?
don't you quickly Google FIFA world rankings right now? Let's go through the top 10 while we're at this, because it is something that has made me deeply unhappy in life. Because I've tried to read how the allocation of points is made by winning friendlies and whatever. And have you ever asked somebody a question in your life, and the more they explain to you, the less you understand? I don't know if you know what I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure you feel that way with me a lot of the time.
I do often, but I was asking you whether you've ever had.
Yes, yeah.
So I shouldn't have read the FIFA world rankings and how it works, because I understood less after I read it. And I think we established yesterday, I am the dumbest person in my family. So maybe I'm the problem and I need to accept that. And this has been a good sort of therapy session for me there.
Look, I'm always here to lend an ear.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, my mate. So have you got that top 10 for me?
I do. So, see, this is what I was saying before
Yeah,
you.
I'd like the rankings and the points. So I tell you what, let's start at number 10.
Okay. This is exactly what I'm saying. Before you told me to look this up, some of these teams have like. Okay. Anyway, so number 10 is Denmark with one.
How? Who?
Denmark.
Number 10 in the whole world.
Yeah, with 1,631.55 points.
Who's next? So, okay, who's next? Who's ninth?
Ninth is Uruguay with
This is,
with 1,639.08
okay.
points.
Okay.
Eighth is a mystery to me as well as Lionel Messi, is Argentina.
Okay.
1,641.95 points.
Eighth. Argentina are eighth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Italy are seventh with 1,642.06 points.
Okay.
Sixth is my boys, Spain. It's the boys. 1,648.13.
Is this the team that did not? They didn't come out of the group stage in the World Cup. Huh?
This is the same team. Yeah, this is the same team that crashed and burned. Yeah.
Okay.
Number five is Portugal, 1,666.12 points.
Okay.
Fourth. It gets ridiculous. In fourth place, ahead of Portugal, who won the Nations League and the Euros is England with
What?
1,686.78 points.
England are the fourth best team in the world. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Third is Brazil, 1,742.65 points.
Okay.
Second is France, 1,757.3 points. And first is Belgium, 1,783.38 points.
So here's what I don't understand, right? I can't remember who won AFCON. Where's the AFCON winning team? Do you know what I mean? Like, how's the system done? Does it matter when you win the international tournaments or not? Like, why are England above the AFCON champions?
Well, I don't know who won AFCON, but the highest ranking African team is Senegal in 22nd.
That does not make sense. Then what are Belgium doing there? Because what's the difference between the people that won the AFCON, that won Copa America? I mean, where's the US men's team? Is it about winning or not?
So the US men's won the CONCACAF tournament the other night against Mexico.
I mean, just a cerebral, what do you call it? Habitual winner.
Look, a phenomenal 2 weeks for the guy.
No, just a winner. He's a winner. He's a winner.
So, yeah, they won CONCACAF, I think it was last week or this past weekend, against Mexico. Very heated game. I encourage everyone to watch the highlights. Anyway, 20th in the world with 1,555.42 points. Do you want to know who they are behind?
Yes. Give me some names.
Chile, Sweden, Wales, Netherlands, Colombia, Croatia, Switzerland, Germany, Mexico.
And why are Germany so low?
Germany are 12th.
Okay. All right. You see, okay. No, it's pathetic. But maybe it's not pathetic. How does it work? I wish somebody at UEFA could just explain to all of us, or FIFA, how does it work? How does it work that Germany are not in the top 10?
How are Norway, and I'm not saying Norway are the greatest team in the world, but they're okay. They're 42nd.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're a bunch of jokes. They're not even Euros, are they?
Well, Norway's kind of okay. They're fairly decent, actually.
Well, I mean, whatever. Like what are Germany doing outside of the top 10? Ask yourself that.
That is a good question.
They're always in the semi-finals, quarterfinals of tournaments. They're in the Euros. So it's not like they didn't qualify for Euros. What, did a couple of bad qualifiers? Does that mean Germany are not in the top 10 anymore? Top 5? What are, in fact, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What are Brazil doing there in the top 3? They haven't done anything in a tournament of any significance.
The last significant thing they did in a tournament was get thumped 7-2 by Germany.
So okay. All right, so it's not just me then. Or maybe it is. I'd love to know what people think.
Is this... Right. Hang on 1 second. Is this... What country? Is this Haiti? I think it's Haiti that are 83rd in the world. Haiti. Is it Haiti? I can't tell by the flag. I think it is.
Okay. So you're just saying a wild guess? Because you don't know what the Haitian flag looks like, and or it does not have their name, I mean.
Well, it says HAI, and I'm pretty sure that's the Haitian flag.
Okay. Well, why not put Haiti, since it's obviously a participation and a marketing award? Why are Haiti, from what I understand, I don't know if you've been to Haiti, James, but
no.
From what I've read, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, obviously besieged by poverty, but apparently if you go there on holiday and you're in a holiday trap, sort of tourist trap place, it is an incredible tropical island. So why not put Haiti in there just as a marketing ploy?
Just put them in the top 15, huh? As a marketing thing.
Well, why not? Brazil are 3rd and Belgium are the best team in the world, apparently. So explain to me how Belgium are ahead of France. Explain that to me. there's there surely is no way over the last 4 years you could sort of, if you take the concatenation of events since winning a tiny little tournament a couple of years ago called the World Cup, what have Belgium done in that time to, number one, be ahead of, or in fact get ahead of, and then stay ahead of France? What has happened in that time?
You know what I'm going to do, right? After today's show and after load shedding, because that's a fun time, I'm going to do research. And tomorrow for Social Media with James, I will provide everyone with the information.
I look forward to that. And if there are people out there, I'm at MKT Inspires on social media. James, your handles. James has 4 different handles for all of his social media. Have you changed your social media yet?
No.
Why not?
I'm a busy guy. I'm running a show.
It's going to take you 1 minute. It takes 1 minute to change your social media. Walking
up and down stairs. I'm busy. I'm a busy guy.
Okay. Anyway, your social media handles, James, will take the rest of the show for you to announce it.
James_Ilsley on the gram. ILSLEY. And then at Ilsley James on Twitter. ILSLEY.
Just change your social media to one handle. It's ridiculous. Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. It's the least efficient way to do things. It reminds me of the FIFA ranking system. On that note, Jimbo, let's take what people call a break.
Okay.
We're going to come back on the other side, folks. We'll delve into Group C, and then we'll finish off with a little bit of social media with James. For now, by the way, if you are joining us on YouTube, please click like. That's the up thumb. It's the thumb that is facing the sky or the roof. Unless you are sitting on your roof and you're a bat, then it's the other one that looks like it's facing down for you. I'm just telling you, these things happen. Click like if you are watching us on YouTube. Otherwise, remember, you can get the podcast. Please like, share, subscribe. You can get it on cliffcentral.com, the Cliff Central app, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please like, share, subscribe. Cliff Central. It'll be Cliff Central Sport, of course, on YouTube. Otherwise, it is the MKT Show on every single other platform where you get your podcast. All right, this is the MKT Show. We're going to take an intermissionary break. We're going to hug it out, and we'll see you in a little bit.
We can't hug because social distancing.
Because of COVID.
Yeah. Sorry, anyway.
All right, see you in a bit. Welcome back to the MKT Show. Welcome back to it. It's great to be great. I got to be honest with you. A lot of people thought COVID would change me. A lot of people thought I would get more introspective. From what I understand, is that things like COVID have made people more conscientious and empathetic. It's taken me the opposite direction. I am more of what I was before, more self-centered, and I'm more determined to be healthier moving forward. So I just want to take care of myself.
I don't think
So-
you have a morsel of empathy inside you.
You don't think so, huh?
Mm-mm.
Probably why I'm single. Hey, James. One of the many reasons.
Well, that and you're repulsive to women and just
Yeah.
big forehead and all of that stuff.
I have thought about it quite a bit. Of if I could just change what I look like and who I am, I think I'd be a pretty good catch.
I told you, we had this conversation. You got to get mega rich and then do what like Ronaldo did with the teeth and the face and the hair.
Oh, you see, Cristiano Ronaldo did a little something before that, James, is he had otherworldly talent and discipline. In fact, Ronaldo's probably more disciplined than he has talent. So, you see, that's what you really should be wishing for me, is you should wish that I could be as disciplined as Cristiano Ronaldo. That's what, if you were a real sort of producer and friend, you would say to yourself, I wish for you that you could be as disciplined as Cristiano Ronaldo, but clearly you're not.
Look, discipline is an art form. It's practice. And, just like you don't believe in living in hope, I don't believe in living in wish.
Wise words. Wise words. Wow, James, that was very deep. You like Oprah, Deepak Chopra. You know who that is?
I do. I do know who that is.
Yeah, James, you strike me as a person who'd know who Deepak Chopra is. You'd strike me as a person who would go up and said, have you read Deepak Chopra's new book? You strike me as one of those, James, because you do strike me as a let's all be more connected as people vibe.
I only know who Deepak Chopra is because of one of the weirdest movies I've ever watched. That's
Let's
the
hear it.
only reason I know who he is. Damn it, what's it called? It's with Mike Myers, The Love Guru. Yeah, and his whole goal, Mike Myers is a guru, and his whole goal is to meet Oprah and be on the Oprah show, and his competition is Deepak Chopra, and that's how I know who and what Deepak Chopra does and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Deepak Chopra is ultimate douchebag spirituality guy. Terrible at understanding the notions of science. I mean, I've read through some of his sort of suppositions of transcendence, and he's tried to put a scientific spin on it. He is one of the biggest douchebags on the planet. But I guess if you are a yuppie like James, he would appeal to you because it's just all about actually connecting as people and good vibrations, huh, James?
I mean, I'm not about that whole vibe of aligning your chakras and connections and all of star signs and all of that stuff. So, sure, I think.
You got a bit of that vibe, though, James. A little bit of that vibe.
I think the vibe you're picking up is I'm very like, go with the flow, like super chill,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, man. That is something Deepak Chopra would totally say. All right. If you are a sports fan, welcome back to it. Let's get into Group C. Shall we, Jimbo?
Let's do it. Let me find this graphic.
All right. Group C is straightforward. It is about as straightforward as if I went to Scarlett Johansson and I asked her on a date, it would be a very quick no. That's how straightforward it is. Group C lines up like this. I think it'll probably be the Snorfest group of the tournament. Other than second place might be a little interesting, but we'll start off with the Oranje Netherlands. The De Boer brothers are getting it together there. Legendary guys, and listen, Frank de Boer is a tough guy because even Ajax had to let him go, his beloved Ajax. Rangers kept him around for a little bit, and he's a tough guy to get along with, as most legendary figures are. It's always presumed in the old days, right? It was always presumed that because you're a great player, you'll be a great coach. Actually, the problem with really generational level players is they put such demands on players. They go, why can't you do that? I did it. They're forgetting that, oh, by the way, you are maybe, as a, when you do talk about the De Boer brothers, is that maybe Holland will never see a player like Ronald, number one, the forward, or Frank, ever again. But if you're Frank, you don't know that. You're just like, no, turn and pass the ball 60 yards, as he could do with that absolutely diamond cutter left. And he was ambidextrous, but so he is a tough guy to get along with, but he looks like he's getting the Netherlands back on track. So the Netherlands, for me, Frankie de Jong, he's one of my favorites. Magnificent his tactical and technical nous in the midfield, typically Dutch. He's been slightly suppressed at Barcelona because they've got a guy who I don't know why they're still playing him, but he is Sergio Busquets, and it is tough when it is one of your own sons, as Catalunya is attached to Busquets, to say you need to get out the way, because actually De Jong should be the operating system for Barcelona's new wave. But for me, Frankie de Jong, the guy to look out for, the 1988 champs, the Rania, for me at the top of the group, will easily win this group. Ukraine are the next team. Now listen, Ukraine have Zinchenko as their star player. Interesting mix there. Alioski is also in the group. By the way, if you haven't seen Alioski, he'll punch and fight anybody for Leeds. Perfect player for Marcelo Bielsa, but he plays for Macedonia. But for Ukraine, I think tough group, Zinchenko being their star guy. I would have gone with, forget the guy at West Ham, by the way, great left foot, Yarmolenko. But I think he's just too injury prone, and Zinchenko's shown now that he can handle the pressure of Pep Guardiola. So looking forward to seeing what the Ukraine produce. That'll be good fun. And by the way, a little bit of controversy if you haven't seen it. They may actually have some political problems because they've added the flag of the Ukraine, including the now annexed Crimea. And that's a whole situation, remember. So, yeah, we'll see how that works. Ukraine's participation, if the reports I've read, is up for debate because there's some political stuff going on. Some of the reports out of Russia, my goodness. Not sure if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, go and look what Russia have had to say about the flag that the Ukraine have put on their kit. It is some damning words, comparing it to the Third Reich. And we all know of that gentleman who was one of the most revolting humans in history, who ran Germany in those times. They've compared having Crimea on the flag to that regime, if you can imagine such. So, could you imagine Ukraine make it through and they meet Russia? Oh, shapers. Oh my gracious!
It would actually pop off. Like,
no, it would be wild scenes. It would be wild.
Yes,
we need it for the content.
Oh,
I don't know why UEFA didn't fix the draw and put them in the same group.
I would have.
If you could figure out how to have Denmark and Finland in the same group, just for pure watching value.
I would do it.
Right, competitive angst. That would have been an awesome thing.
No, but they didn't do it because they're super ethical at FIFA, so they had to do it the right way.
Yeah, and they got the problem of they've already given Russia a World Cup. That's coming up in 2026. So that's that would be a very, very awkward situation. All right, next up, Austria, led by the legendary David Alaba. By the way, who's still only 20 or 28. You forget that he started at 19 at the very top of his game. Austria, he's the guy, right? He's the kingpin for Austria. He plays, if you don't know, box-to-box midfield. He doesn't play at the back like he has done for Germany at left or for Bayern Munich at left back and centre back. He plays box-to-box midfield and is their set-piece specialist. So superb. He's already legendary. His career has been something else. Diamond cutter left foot. So looking forward to seeing what Alaba does. Of course, the now mercurial Marko Arnautovic is their X factor up top. We'll see. I mean, he is like the weather, right? He will, when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. He's something else. A maverick, to say the least. So Alaba leading Austria there. And then lastly, an interesting one, North Macedonia. If you're Inter Milan fan. Didn't even know there was a South Macedonia, of course, but we do know some of the political turmoil. That is what it is. The 37-year-old Goran Pandev is the star attraction there. Alioski, of course, of Leeds, and the Goku sort of hair. He's the other guy that you need to look out for. Great energy from him. So North Macedonia will get the participation award for this part of the sort of seedings. I've thought about this. I thought Austria, Ukraine, what do I like in the end? Austria just have too many sort of cultured players in the end. I think Austria and Netherlands will go through, and that's pretty cut and dry for me. I like Ukraine. They always have a cool kit. That gold and blue always comes through really nicely. But I'm afraid Zinchenko and Alioski will not be enough. Yarmolenko maybe. Their manager, of course, look out as a face. If you're old like me, somebody you may recognize. Roman Abramovich, who is obviously big chums with the Tsar in Russia, in Putin, is besties with Andrei Shevchenko. They're known to have a great relationship. So that's a whole nother level to the tension between Ukraine and Russia, which you love to see. You know what I'd love to see? Roman Abramovich pitches up to support the Ukraine at one of the games. That would make my year. To see how Putin responds to that. So good to watch. Group C, Netherlands and Austria for me. James, I think pretty cut and dry. I don't know. You think the Ukraine could pop a surprise up there?
I think they might. Ukraine, I mean, obviously Netherlands, Austria favorites from me, as well as probably a lot of people. Maybe Ukraine has an upset. I think Austria, Ukraine, their game against each other will be the sort of tell-all. Are they doing 2 legs in the group stages or just one?
No.
One.
It's none of that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would definitely be the deciding factor. I think it'd be great if those 2 games were the early games of the group, if that makes sense. Just to, throw the group on its head before everything's balanced. The Dutch, what else is there to say? Very, very talented squad. Super defensive squad, actually. They've called up a lot of defenders. But everyone knows the Dutch players are a very close group, especially the players that play in the Dutch league. And even outside of that, I think Dutch players have this thing of just being a close-knit nation. And I think, again, what else is there to say? They've got strong defense. Midfield will probably be run by Georgina Wijnaldum.
Yeah. PSG's Georgina Wijnaldum.
PSG's Georgie. That was going to be part of my social media with James yesterday, but we didn't have time. I think they don't have a lot of sort of star power up front. I mean, the biggest name there is probably Luke de Jong or Memphis Depay. I think it's going to be very much a game that's driven from, a team that's driven from the defense and sort of controlled through the midfield. That's all I have to say. Obviously, favourites to win the group.
Yeah, Memphis Depay, another guy, sadly, who started to believe the hype far too soon. I mean, him and Zaha, I think, having the same outcome of, going to Manchester United, and I think he became his Instagram account.
Yeah.
And you've seen it with so many people where they fall apart like that. Is he didn't knuckle down, and neither did Zaha. And this is what happens, right? The great Alex Ferguson said to Rio Ferdinand at a stage, Rio's come out and spoken about this, of stop falling in love with the hype. Stop believing the hype. You are not the legend. Focus on executing on the football pitch. And Memphis Depay trying to reinvent himself. It seems it's gone really well at Olympique Lyonnais. And soon he may have his dream move to Barcelona. And he's got somebody who loves him there and will look after him. And if he can't succeed under Ronald Koeman, then I'm afraid it's on him. So let's see. Maybe this is his breakout tournament. Maybe he has grown up. Everybody's saying he's been sensational and he deserves this move. Maybe he has grown up. The world will humble you. So if he can be the talent that everyone thought he was at PSV now and realize it, and this is his breakout tournament, listen, this is a loaded Dutch team. And they've got everything right with Wijnaldum, And I think with Frankie de Jong and what they've got going on in the midfield there, Donny van der Beek unfortunately will not be taking part. That's very, very sad. But they do. It's a nice, experienced team. And with Dutch players, they're always going to be technically superb. And they've got a bit of a nasty edge with Wijnaldum in the midfield there. I like that about him. He's box to box. It gives you that thrust. So if Depay can be that powder keg, I mean, then we have a team here.
Yeah,
We
I
have
mean,
a serious team here.
the Dutch on a good day can be absolutely ruthless. You saw what they did to Spain in the World Cup. I think if they get it right on game day, I think the sky is the limit for this Dutch team. Honestly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think people change though. I think Depay will always be in love with himself, and that's not what you want as your team leader.
No.
And if you're going to be in love with yourself, be Cristiano Ronaldo levels. And I just don't think he's that committed. And you have to be, if you're going to be in love with yourself, you need to be a special player. And there must be actually something to love. So personally, I don't think people change. So I don't see the Netherlands going all the way purely because they are basing it around Memphis Depay as their star man, which I think is a mistake. But let's see how it goes. Listen, De Boer is not a man that'll suffer fools. So I think he'll get the ego in check, and let's see how it goes. But ultimately, there's not enough there to take them over the top with 4 or 5 other teams having equal talent and better systems, I think.
Yeah. I don't believe that this will be the tournament where the Dutch make it to the final, but I still think what World Cup was that where they beat Spain? Was it 2018?
No, they weren't in the 2018. They didn't qualify.
Oh, then it must have been the 2014 World Cup. I think that World Cup they showed that they are a real powerhouse. But again, I mean, that was a couple of years ago. Many star players have moved on from that squad, and now they're filled with more youngsters and more sort of modern players. So yeah, I don't know. I think the midfield will definitely sort of play a huge role in their games.
Yeah, listen, I think what you'll see with De Boer, if you don't remember and you aren't old like me, is the ghost of 1998 is really where everything for them is still. They need to break that hoodoo. If you don't remember, that was the great team, Kluivert, Bergkamp. In that team, you've got the De Boer brothers, you've got Edgar Davids, Clarence Seedorf.
Yes,
you know that Michael Reisiger, Giovanni van Bronckhorst. You think of that team. What a team that was on paper, and ultimately in the end, the Jaap Stam is in that team. But what happened in the end is that the egos were far too much, and they didn't have the manager, and they couldn't contain it. And listen, if you've got any Dutch friends, I like Dutch people, but they are not for everybody. They are not afraid to tell you who and what they like. I mean, the stories from then of Pierre van Hooijdonk and people like Ruud van Nistelrooy. Well, that's the next era, but Pierre van Hooijdonk, people struggle to get on with him. Dutch people are direct, and they will tell you exactly what they think of themselves, and they'll tell you what they think of you very, very quickly. They are not shy they are not short of confidence. So again, that needs to be managed, and they are talented, and they are abrasive people. And can the Dutch get it over the line? We'll see. But the hoodoo of 1998, if you have not seen it, go and re-watch that. They were famously decimated by Brazil, of course, in 1998. As that was my God, just horrendous. What happened from that era, and it was never the same again.
It's actually funny you mention how sort of abrasive the Dutch people can be. During the 2010 World Cup, on the day of the final, which was Spain, Netherlands, I support Spain, so I had my Spain shirt on. My older brother had his Netherlands shirt on, and we needed to go to the shops to get something before the game or whatever. And we walked past these two guys that were from the Netherlands. And they like cheered at my brother, and then they turned to me, seeing me wear the Spain shirt. And they were like, yeah, no, screw you. And they started like cheering away with my brother. And I was like, whoa, okay, everyone relax.
No, listen, the Dutch, I love them for it. Is you're never going to wonder what they think of you. They will tell you.
Yes.
They are raised in their society to be very direct. So you want an example of what separates the Dutch from everybody else is let's get to the bottom line. You know, as South Africans, we like to go, I'll give you an example. On a phone call, I always use this example when I'm trying to describe Dutch people, is that, you know, as South Africans, and perhaps around the world, I don't know what the cultures are, but in South Africa, you say, hello, how are you doing? How's your sister? How's your mom? You know what I mean? With the Dutch, here's how a phone call goes. Hello, hello. Right, now, about that thing that I'm phoning you about. There is no small talk. And
oh my goodness gracious.
They are very direct people, and it's not rudeness. It is in their society. Like, for them is, what are we doing? We don't need small talk. We can do small talk if you're my friend, mom, sister, or we're sitting in a private setting. If I'm phoning you, it's a functional reason. Let's get down to it. And I like it personally, which is why sometimes I struggle with South African people, because I like to just get to what I want to get to. You know, if you really cared how I was doing, you would have phoned me or come to my house. You know, let's just get to what we're getting to. But small talk, a part of the social framework. So for some people, small talk and friendly talk is everything, but not for the Dutch. So if you're not used to them, they come off as aggressive and cold, but they are just what they are. It's how their society has raised them, and it is what it is. And it's a very interesting experience to watch for people who haven't been around Dutch people when I do see it, and I can see how it's an affront to people. So good luck to the Oranje, and they'll always bring big fans, big support.
Oh, huge.
And big vibe.
Huge.
Big vibe.
Huge.
Nobody hates the Oranje football fans. I mean, they bring big vibe. And I think another great thing is that the Oranje just looks cool on TV, you know, when they're all singing and it's orange and it's just a different look.
They like the Liverpool Ultras, but on steroids.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. It's good fun. All right, those are the Euros. Love to know what people think. Let us know at Cliff C Sport if you're on the Tweet Monster. Otherwise, I'm at MKT Inspires. You can try and find James Ilsley, but it's about 15 different handles. So I'm not even going to put people through that again. All right, Jimbo, let's... because we've got load shedding in the Republic of South Africa. If you don't know what load shedding is, just go and Google it. If you're from a different country, it is. I can't begin to explain what it is to you. There's people from first world countries where I've tried to explain to them that sometimes we don't have electricity, and I've tried to explain, especially to my Finnish mates, what it is. I've explained at least 10 times, and they still don't understand what I mean when I say sometimes there's no electricity.
Guess you could say you never got to the end of explaining it, huh?
Are you saying I couldn't finish?
It's a cerebral joke. Nailed it.
It's cerebral, huh?
Because you couldn't finish.
No, so it's a cerebral joke, you're saying? James?
Yeah, because you have to put some thought into it.
Cerebral, huh?
Yeah.
All right, James, big words. Big words. Cerebral joke. Okay, so it's okay. So you're saying it's an intellectual's one? Hey?
It is, because like I said, you have to put some thought into the punchline.
Okay, Jimbo with one for the thinkers. And, James, I've told you, I'm not a thinker. I'm a meathead. So it went over my head, but good for you and anybody else who got it. By the way, if you're still with us, for whatever reason, by the way, yesterday, one of the most disgusting things in the history of society happened was we realized that a doctor, a proper doctor who is looking after you, me, our grandmothers in a hospital somewhere, Dr. Naquin Adams, listens to this show. It is surely that we have to worry about society when a doctor is listening to this show.
Look.
That's got to worry people. A proper doctor, and I don't mean a doctor of communications or like Dr. Kumalo. I'm talking about a proper doctor who has the brains to get into medical school. So already that means straight A's, right? To get into medical school, no stupid people. You can't be stupid and fake your way in there. You can't be a celebrity's child and pay your way into doctor school. That's not how it works. In medical school, they don't care who your mom or dad is. Get the hell out of here if you're an idiot like me or James. Get out of here. Go back to your Montessori school and have your mommy and daddy pat you on the back and tell you everything's going to be okay. Go do that somewhere else. You know what you do if you want to cry about inclusivity? Get yourself to philosophy, or where all the bums and BA students are, right? Get yourself to AFTA, where if you got the money, will accept you. Medical school is for real. What did you call them, James, just now? Cerebral people, hey?
Cerebral.
Yeah, cerebral. So James is going to Google and explain to us what cerebral means. It's such a big word. A little bit intimidating. But people like Dr. Naquin Adams, I've actively encouraged doctors not to listen to the show. We need you to keep every brain cell you've got to save lives.
I think it gives us a sense of credibility, if I'm honest.
I don't want to be the show that's taking Dr. Naquin Adams and other great people that are working in the medical field away from their duties. Listening to these idiots here who didn't even know how to describe horse riding earlier. Could you imagine what he's going through? I mean, he's figured out how to perhaps help, I don't know, cure a pancreas and its ailings if you have, problems like pancreatic cancer or something like that. That's what he's doing. And we've got numbnuts like me and you just talking about Group C in Europe. It's unbelievable.
Also, very wrong of you to assume that it's a he. I'm just saying.
Yes, because Naquin's a tough one.
It is.
Dr. Naquin Adams is going to spend his or her whole life is making sure that they're a real doctor. By the way, already done that. Tick. Are you a man or a woman? And that is important.
Also, if you don't identify or you are other and you don't want to tell us, that's okay too.
I'd like to know. I'd like to know. I would like to know. It's not okay. I'd like to know, Dr. Naquin Adams, man or woman. But please rather be doing medicine than be. I want people to listen to this show. But if you, Dr. Naquin, get back to being a medical professional and saving lives and actually being a genius. Please do that rather than listen to this. Man, that's got to be taken away from your IQ points. Anyway, that is what that is. If you're still with us on YouTube, please click like and share and subscribe if you're still with us. All right, Jimbo, let's get into, we got about 12 minutes or so left of the show, folks, because of load shedding. James, let's get into social media with James, and let's finish off with some comments.
Okay, so I had a bunch of other stuff that I wanted to do with social media with James, but we only found out about load shedding today.
Well, let's do one of those.
So, I'm being terrible at the moment. So I found a thing on Facebook the other day. UEFA have released a list of how to pronounce player names from each of the countries, like player names that are confusing. So they've left England completely off this list. But it's a whole thing of how you pronounce different names for the different teams, right? So because we're short on time, I'm only going to do names that are sort of big and popular. So we'll start with Belgium. Belgium, Toby Alderweireld is Toby Alderweireld.
Flemish, of course. So if you don't know, in Belgium, they speak two languages predominantly, English being a supporting third. There is French, and then there is Flemish there as well, which is the other language.
Mishi Batshuayi is Mishi Batshuayi. So it's Batshuayi.
Well, not a Belgian name, by the way. I don't know where he's from. Looks West African. Generally, if you are in Congo, because of the, obviously, the sketchy history between the two countries, probably West African or Congolese, obviously, with the ties between Belgium and Congo.
Thibaut Courtois is Thibaut Courtois. I just thought I'd throw that in there because there's different pronunciations that people...
It is a tricky one. Could be Courtois. I mean, it is a tricky one.
Yeah. Thomas Meunier is Thomas Manier. So it's Manier.
Okay.
Simon Mignolet is Simon Mignolet.
So he's Slumdog, the Slumdog Mignolet there. That was a tricky one, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Croatia, no huge names in the Croatian squad. No huge names.
Yeah. The Croatians, a whole bunch of itches there.
Yeah, they are. They are. That is very true. Denmark. Okay, so the one big name here, Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, plays for Tottenham. He is Pierre-Emil Højbjerg. So it's Højbjerg.
Have you ever met any Scandinaves? By the way, some of the most fascinating accents on the planet.
No, I haven't.
So the Danish have a unique one, but they all generally Swedes, Norwegians, and the Danish have a very similar kind of. They talk like it's like this. We're from Denmark, and I'm enjoying. So they always say the J. I'm enjoying my time. I enjoying it, and it's a very fun time. The Scandinavians, if you are Scandinavian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Very, very fun.
So from the Scandinaves to the French, Lucas Digne is Luca Digne.
Digne.
Yeah.
Okay. Digne, superb left foot. Geez, I know a loaded left back.
Absolutely. Olivier Giroud is Olivier Giroud. Antoine Griezmann is Antoine Griezmann. So it's Griezmann.
All right.
N'Golo Kante is N'Golo Conte, which is not news to a lot of people. Clement Lenglet is Clement Longley.
Longley. Okay, cool. Very nice.
Steve Mandanda, goalkeeper, is Steve Mondonda.
Okay, West African name as well. Yeah.
Marcus Thuram is Marcus Thuram.
By the way, his father, one of the most legendary footballers of all time, Liliane Thuram, art curator now, former world and European champion, of course, driving France to that great 1998 final victory with that incredible goal.
Get it, France.
In the semi-final, yeah, superb player.
Manuel Neuer is Manuel Neuer. Ilkay Gundogan is actually Ilkay Gundogan.
Yeah, that's an Arabic name.
Yeah.
Of Turkish descent. So interesting one. All right, Jimbo. Very, very nice. I like all of those. Should we jump into some social media, some questions?
Let's do that. I'm saving the rest for tomorrow because there's a lot of Dutch names on this list. And it's great. And I'm very excited.
They've got a great accent.
They do. Alrighty. Where shall we start? At the top, probably. Zapeta says the NFL is still far Mbulelo. The new soccer season starts before the NFL starts again. Also, young James should get educated on American sports, with him being a big-time journalist and producer.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more. You know, that's just, again, closer people giving great feedback. You know, we gave you Nelson Mandela and Siya Kolisi, and now just great feedback all the way from the Eastern Cape. Mr. Ngaba, I love it.
I will do my best to get into it. Andrew Harrison didn't like our horse riding. We went through that one. Zapeta says, I'm honestly shocked that James doesn't know anyone that has a horse, whether it be James, a friend, or a relative. Why is that a shocking thing?
You are Afrikaans. I mean, James, you got to know, this is why your family and the Afrikaans community have turned their back on you. How does an Afrikaans guy not know a farmer, have a friend or a relative that's involved in that lifestyle? It's spitting in the face of a generation that was built on the back of the ox wagon sort of culture, and indeed the traveling culture that built what we knew back in those days as the Transvaal, and ultimately is now Gauteng. You know, how do you not know somebody in your family? But again, this is why your family moved 1,200 kilometers away, and this is why the Afrikaans community has shunned you. So,
well, look,
again,
we do have like a family farm thingy in the Eastern Cape, so there's that, right?
No, that you've told me nothing. What does that have to do with you? Do you know anybody who? Are there people on there who ride horses?
No. Kuzle says he's probably getting Dak for Vac. That's my brother.
That's your brother. That's so good.
Dak for Vac.
Getting Dak for Vac.
That
I
is
like that.
that's unlocked a memory I forgot that I had actually. Wow.
Dak for Vac.
Dak
That's
for
awesome.
Vac, huh?
That's awesome. Who sent that comment?
Kuzle.
I love it.
Nshoma says, talking NFL, what are your thoughts on the Julia Jones trade? Does it make the Titans Super Bowl 56 contenders? I mean, they have Derek the King, Henry, AJ Brown, and now Julio. Better than decent O-line. It's French to me. I don't know what I'm reading.
First of all, Julio Jones there, James. Again, you've exposed yourself not knowing the American. And by the way, it is a big thing that you don't know that it's Julio Jones. He's the greatest receiver of this generation. All-time averages 85 yards per reception. It's unmatched all time in the history of the NFL. It does not. The problem is this, right? Last year, Ryan Tannehill came on. The problem last year was that they can't stop anybody. The O-line's not bad, but unfortunately, that's not enough. The problem for the Tennessee Titans is that last season, the attack was not the problem. Right? They're going to get you between 28 and 35 points. Tannehill's got that juggernaut arm, and then you can keep the play action, which means you keep the D-line honest. You can use the play action in order to get AJ Brown open, and now they're not going to be able to double AJ, and they're not going to be. You can't double both AJ and Julio Brown, so you're going to have to slide the coverage somewhere, and it's going to be single coverage on both guys. Because also what you're going to have to do is if you do double one of them, it means you're not stacking the box, and then you got a 6'4" monster coming downhill at around 113, 115 kilograms in Derrick Henry. So does it make them Super Bowl contenders? I don't think so, because the defense was the problem last year, and I'm not sure what they've done. Malcolm Butler is gone. I'm not sure what they've done to address the secondary and the linebacker situation. What have they done for that? And that was the problem last season. And unless you're telling me Tannehill's going to give me 40 points every game, what are you going to do to stop Lamar Jackson and co? To keep them, because you know what you're going to have to do against Lamar Jackson is you're going to have to keep him below 35 points, because if they do, and they very rarely do get to 30, 35 points, but if Lamar Jackson gets to 35 points, the problem is that they run it down your throat, and now what, right? They are the best. So I don't believe they do. What it does make them is an incredible highlights package, because AJ Brown is a mega star, and Julio Jones is the greatest. He's certainly top 5 conversation of greatest receivers of all time, but easily the greatest receiver of this generation. And it's awesome to see him moving away from Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, which has been a waste of his career. And it is a Roll Tide reunion, of course. King Henry, a former Alabama Roll Tide, and you bring back the great Julio Jones as well. It is Nick Saban's crew coming back together. All right, Jimbo, what's next?
Due to lack of time, and I think this is a great place to end off, I will screenshot the rest of these comments and read them tomorrow, but to end off, from Mercer Gardenman, hey Mbelelo, how is the COVID?
Well, I do have COVID. Thank you so much for asking. I mean, I didn't want to talk about it, but because we are a show where we're all about the listeners, I will talk about it. I think I'm on the upswing. Last week was the worst of it, and really it was fine. So the COVID is it Mercer Gardenman, could be Merca Gardenman. We probably need that cleared up. We need whoever did the translator stuff for the Euro players. We may need this for our own listener. COVID, all good. Nothing to complain about. Getting on with it. I'm still going to be out for the rest of this week, so I'll stay away from society until Sunday, because next week I want to get back to it all guns blazing. I want no excuses on my side, so I want to be absolutely sure that I'm not going to be spreading the COVID and become a super spreader event, but I also want to get myself up to 100%. So the question was, how is COVID going? COVID is fine. I am fine. I'm living and still trying to work where I can. And I have rewatched the shows. So I know people really are like, we shouldn't talk about it, but I know the quality has been a downgrade for everybody at home. But I was raised in a home where, for goodness sake, stop whinging. Like, I've never taken a break from work for a headache, because it's like it would offend my father. Like, it's offensive in my home. I'm not going to work because I'm not feeling well. It's a stupid reason not to go to work. That alarm is to say that we are almost out of time, because James lives in a slumlord area where he will have load shedding. But yeah, so to come back to you, I will be back all guns blazing next week, and I'm so sorry that the quality has been such a dip. But thank you for sticking with us on the show. I promise you, we will be back on Monday, all guns blazing, no excuses. We'll be running at full tilt. So all good, Mirka or Mirsa, all good my side. And just to say, I will never take a day off because I'm not feeling well. It would be revolting to my family. My mother and my father have always said, being unwell is not a reason not to go to work, or work if you can. So I expect no drop off and expect no days off from me. That is my answer there, James.
Good.
Yeah, I do need to address that. It's stop taking days off. Everyone in the world, stop taking, unless the only reason you have to take the day off is if you're actually dying, right? Like actually dying. I don't mean, I've got a little bit of a fever or a headache. That is not a reason to take off work. And unless if you are facing mental health challenges, because I know nothing about depression, but everything I've read about it is crippling to the point where you can't even, the thought of getting out of bed becomes painful for the entire body. That's completely understandable. But I'm sorry, I've got a runny nose, I'm taking off work, I've got a headache. Oh my goodness. Get out of my face. Those people, get out of my face. Unless you've got mental health issues, right, which are completely understandable, then you're obviously unable to function. I completely get that. And unless you've got asthma and your lungs feel like they're going to burst out of your chest, then of course. But no, I'm not taking off work for COVID. Get over it.
You tell him. Tell him, listen, big guy.
My old man never taken a day off in his life, and I'm not kidding. Never taken a day off in his life. And I've seen him ailing. Oh my God, that human being is going to keel over and die. And he's at his library, he's in his library or in the studio or in the office working. There is always somebody worse off than you in life. Stop whinging, get to it. So that's how I was raised, though. It's not for everybody, but it's how I was raised. Anything else would offend my family. So I'm not in that business yet. I'm saying to you.
Good to end the show on a motivational note,
I hadn't even thought about it like that. It's probably going to come off like that. So it is what it is. All right, Jimbo, good luck with load shedding, pal. All the best. Thoughts and prayers. I know people are doing that on social media.
I'm chilling. I listen to my music, or I do my walking thing, or I'm chilling.
No, you're such a cerebral guy.
Look, it's not easy, but we don't have the time for me to bore you with how cerebral I am.
I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jimbo, good stuff today, Paul. This has been the MKT Show. Please, if you're still on YouTube with us, click like. Please do like, share, subscribe. Click the like button, and let's get this show up the algorithm. Thanks so much for sticking with us through the quarantine, the forced quarantine. We have 2 more days. Thursday and Friday will be the last day where you'll have to deal with the inconsistencies of the internet, etc. Remember, tomorrow, because of James living in the slumlord area and having to have no electricity, it is load shedding. So we will be on tomorrow from 11:30 until 1:30. So it won't be 12, it'll be 11:30. That is on the 10th of June and the 11th of June 2021. The MKT show will move from its current time slot to 11:30 South African time, 11:30 Central African time, to obviously that'll be to 1:30. It'll be 2 hours. So Thank you so much for sticking with us. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the MKT Show. I am MKT, but for today, we are the hell out of here.